Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Aamodt did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Aamodt did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Entree Architect Foundations is a collection of more than 50 business forms and checklists designed and built specifically for you, the small firm architect. Learn more at entrearchitect.com/foundations. You are listening to Entree Architect Podcast, and this is episode 212. Welcome back to Entree Architect Podcast. My name is Mark R. LePage, and this is the podcast dedicated to a successful life as a small firm entrepreneur architect. Whether you have plans to someday start your own firm, you're in the process of launching a startup, or you may be an experienced small firm architect just like me, just trying to make a difference, this podcast is for you. My goal is to inspire you to build a better business so that you may pursue your purpose with passion and live the life of your dreams. In 1986, Carlo Petrini protested the opening of a McDonald's restaurant in Piazza di Spagna in Rome and launched the slow food movement. Carl Honoré explains in his book, In Praise of Slowness, that slow food stands for everything that McDonald's does not. Fresh, local, seasonal produce, recipes handed down through the generations, sustainable farming, artisanal production, leisurely dining with family and friends. But ultimately, the movement is about the sensual pleasures of food. 30 years after Carlo's protest, organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and craft beer are everywhere. Foodies flock to ever more specialized restaurants serving only food cultivated in their own backyards. Whole Foods is considered mass market, and Michelle Obama is promoting farm to table in public schools. Carlo should be proud. He saved food. Since then, the slow movement has touched almost every industry except ours. Slow cities, slow aging, slow religion, slow cinema, slow education, slow sex, slow medicine, slow fashion, slow parenting, slow travel. Architecture, design, and the building industry are conspicuously absent from this list. Until now. This week at Entree Architect Podcast, the slow space movement with architect Mette Aamodt of Aamodt Plumb Architects. This episode of Entree Architect Podcast is supported by our longtime platform sponsors, ARCAT, FreshBooks, and Core by BQE Software. And I'm going to share more about these great companies later, so listen up. But before we get started, just take a quick note right now. Go put it in your iPhone or jot it down. Go say hi to them. Go check them out. ARCAT, FreshBooks, Core by BQE. Let them know that you appreciate them for supporting us here at the Entree Architect Podcast, because they are supporting you, the Entree Architect community. Mette Aamodt, welcome to Entree Architect Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I recently posted on the Entree Architect community Facebook group for requests on who we want to hear on the podcast here, and your name came back several times, and so I wanted to reach out to you and say hi and bring you on the show and share your story, share what you're doing. I did a little research on who you are and what you're doing, and I'm excited about this conversation. I think this is going to be a really fun conversation. So thank you for being here.
Well, yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks again to everybody who, asked for this interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, good. Let me introduce you a little bit to our listeners who don't know who you are. Mette Aamodt is an architect, CEO, and co-founder of Aamodt Plumb, an architecture and interiors and construction firm in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She's a former AIA member, which is interesting, a design activist and co-founder of the Slow Space movement to promote good, clean, and fair buildings for all. She publishes bi-weekly thought pieces on her blog, slowspace.org, which is maybe where you know her from, to explore ideas around slow space and slow architecture, which we're going to get into later and what that is. She's also a mother of two, together with her husband and partner, Andrew Plumb. And she was also diagnosed with MS in 2002 upon graduation from Harvard's GSD, to the Graduate School of Design. So that's sort of who you are in a nutshell, Mette. Let's dive into an origin story. Let's learn a little bit more about you. Go back as far as you want to go back. Whatever inspired you to become an architect, share that story to where you find yourself today.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. That'll be fun. Thinking all the way back. So going all the way back, of course, it goes back to my parents. And my parents did not want me to be an architect. And they taught me that architecture was a really tough business. My father is an architect.
Oh, there you go. Somebody, yeah. I knew somebody was an architect in there.
Exactly. And my mother was a business person. And so I remember lots of highs and lows, recessions, things like that. And so, of course, since they told me not to be an architect, that's of course what I did. So you should always use reverse psychology with your kids. So remember that. That's lesson number one. And so I found my way to architecture kind of through a long path. I originally started out in urban planning, and they were thrilled with that. That was acceptable, and then eventually ended up in architecture at the GSD, which was grueling. And I graduated from the GSD with an MArch and with MS. So that was multiple sclerosis. Not the good letters, not the good kind of letters after my name, but that's also where I met my partner and husband, Andrew. So that was another positive thing that came out of it. Thank God for that. So when we graduated, so yes, I was diagnosed. I got MS sometime during architecture school. All the stress, I'm sure, was a trigger for well, nobody knows how you get it, but it was a trigger. I was definitely stressed out. And about like 2 weeks before, or maybe it was a week before my thesis review, I went blind in my right eye. I couldn't hold my X-Acto to do to cut the little tiny pieces for my model anymore. And I just thought I was stressed out. It was like, oh, I can't see out of that eye. Oh, I'll deal with that later.
Right. It must be stress. Right.
It must be stress.
Yeah,
I mean,
the life of an architecture student.
Yeah, exactly. And so like Andrew helped out, my friends helped out, and then I went to the doctor, and it's a lot worse than I thought. So Andrew and I were starting our careers as architects, and we, with this kind of horrible diagnosis, just, from the get-go, like, okay, now what am I going to do? Like, how is this going to affect me? I have no idea. I didn't know anything about the disease. I didn't know anything about how it was going to, what kind of disability I was going to have, like nothing. I knew I was burned out, though. I knew I was totally already fried starting my career, and I was already kind of at zero. Yeah. And so we weren't sure what to do, because we really believed in the power of architecture and the power of it to make an impact on people's lives. But we saw how much it sucked to be an architect, and what little value our society places on architecture. I mean, we have so little market share. Only 2%, they say, of buildings are designed by an architect, and that's even worse in in residential construction, where there's really not a mandate. At least in public projects and institutional projects, you have to by law have an architect, but not so in residential. So we were faced with this, sort of dilemma of how are we going to do good work, have a good life, and make a good living? Well, we kept asking people that, and they were essentially like, yeah, that's not possible. It's like, yeah, you're gonna pick 2 out of 3.
What did mom and dad say at that point?
No, I didn't ask them. Yeah, I had made my bed, right?
Yep.
So, but I love a good challenge, and so like since then it was really like we weren't willing to give up any one of those things, even though all the avenues, all the sort of regular avenues, appeared as though you had to give up one of those things in order to progress. So after a couple of years of working, we were lucky enough to be able to start our own firm, so we could really try to figure out how to do things differently. And the sort of not business as usual was our motto. Like, how are we going to do this in a way that's different from the way all the other architects are doing it, because the way that they're doing it is not working out. Right. It's not going to get us towards our triple threat of, good work, good life, good money. And so we started looking to other business, to the business world and other industries, and just started reading tons of business books, and, trying to learn everything we could about, how to run a firm, how to run a profitable firm. So like, okay, 10 years later, like what are some of the things that we've, and it's all been trial and error, of course, because, well, all we had was our our own learning and our own sort of efforts and, mistakes to learn from.
There's no place to learn it. That's why I launched Entree Architect, because
exactly.
we wanted to fill that void and create a place where small firms can learn what you had to learn on your own.
Exactly. And this was 10 years ago. Where were you then?
Right, right.
It's like,
I was there, but I was really, really small.
Right. Exactly. And so, so we figured out a few things, in the process, or, we're constantly just trying things. Everyone that works with us is there. There's no like sort of status quo. We're constantly innovating on the design side, but also on the business side. So, we do things like we specialize as opposed to trying to do a little bit of everything. So we specialize in homes, almost exclusively. It took us a while to like even be able to, like, that was a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah,
like,
that's a common theme on the podcast and in my community. I call it the target market. You have to pick a target market, and we get pushback on that all the time because everybody wants to do everything. And the most successful firms are the ones that find a place, find a target, and focus on that.
Right. And you can be successful if you focus on it, because we found that every time we switched project types, there was a huge learning curve.
Right.
It was apples and oranges. I mean, we did public housing. The bidding process for that has nothing to do with private residential. Commercial specs have nothing to do with residential specs. It's like a whole different industry.
Right.
So you're never going to make any money if you're reinventing the wheel every time you get a new project. And so, so our goal is to be profitable, and so that we can, and I'll talk about that later, so we can leverage that position as a profitable firm to make a greater impact. So, but first we need to solve the money problem, because if we're not in business, we can't do anything. And if we're sick and, and broke, we can't do anything. And if we're doing shitty work, also, like, what's the point?
Right.
So none of those things were things we were going to sacrifice. So specializing was one. Then we recently decided to become an architect-led design build firm. So we specialize in the houses, and so rather than the crazy, combative relationship we have with builders now, if we just do the whole thing, then all of a sudden, for my one marketing dollar, I got one client, but then I got so much more scope out of that same client than I did before. We also do the interiors, so it's like a soup to nuts thing. But the best part is that our clients love it, because the process is such a mess without it. And it's so antagonistic, and it's so complicated. And so we just take care of it for everybody. And it's like a win-win, because we don't have to go through all the, all the kind of paperwork during CA, all the cover your ass stuff with, submittals and things like that. It's one hand talking to the other hand. We're all in the same office. It's like, it's a revelation, and this is, again, a way to, like, streamline what is a really overcomplicated process, a very difficult value proposition to sell to a client. Here, hire us to design this house. You have no idea what it's going to look like. You have no idea how long it's going to take, and you have no idea how much it's going to cost.
Right.
Right? Wow, that's really...
and they think that your fee is 1/10 of what it really is.
Well, yeah. And so, but when you start from that, like, nobody could sell that, I mean, that's like impossible. So, the just custom home building and residential design is a difficult sell. And, it puts us into, like, this very, very niche, and I would say even elitist kind of pocket where, doing the architecture alone meant that the projects had to be of a certain size in order for us to make any money on it. So we had to turn away people that would have been great clients, but their projects were just too small and the scale wouldn't work out. But now that, like, the effort to reward ratio wouldn't really work out. We'd end up losing money. But if we design it and build it, then we have a much better opportunity to recoup some of our upfront upfront investment and earn money, at the end, we can help more people. And so it was kind of killing us that the only people we could work with were really wealthy people, designing fancy houses for wealthy people. You can be very profitable doing that, but we wanted to make a bigger impact and go beyond that.
How are you providing the construction?
So we brought on a partner and who is, has 15, 20 years experience as a construction manager with a great interest in architecture, wanted to become an architect and, went a different route. So we had worked with him before on a project where he was a builder on one of the projects that we designed. Great guy. So we brought him in and we formed a sister company. So he runs the jobs. He runs the business that then runs the jobs.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good. Great. Because there's lots of different ways to do that, and so I wanted to see how you're doing it, and that seems to be the most successful route is to team up with somebody who's already done it. Start a second company, let that person lead that company, and then you work together as a team. So in a strategic way, you're one firm, but technically and legally, you're two firms, right?
That's the way we figured out we had to do it because you couldn't get builder as an architect, you can't get builder's insurance and vice versa. So we are Aamodt Plumb as a brand. And then we provide these different services and the sort of we're trying to make it in a way that there is no meaningful difference between, the separate companies. Everything is just one. Right. But yes,
it's a legal technicality.
It's a technicality. Yeah.
So you're essentially one firm providing design and construction, and the process. And from the client's point of view, there's no seam at all. It's seamless.
It's totally seamless. One check, one point of responsibility, one phone call to make when something goes wrong.
So if there's one check, is that check being written to the architecture firm, and then the architecture firm is paying the construction firm? How do you do that financially?
Actually, it has to go the other way around.
The other way around. So it's they're paying the contractor side of it.
Yep.
And then they pay the design side of it.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
And so again, this is a way to just a way to do things differently, and to try to meet the needs and be able to serve more people by making this process that is, really difficult, a little bit easier. I mean, I also, I have a guide on my website that's how to hire an architect and try to lay the steps out for people. So that was the first pass, is providing information, and just to try to demystify, but then when we were finding that we were, we couldn't help certain people because the project wasn't big enough, that was frustrating to us. We needed the work, but the formula didn't work out.
So are you also giving them one fee up front? So one proposal for the whole package?
Is one proposal for the whole package. Yeah, there's one contract for the entire thing. And AIA has a document, I think it's for 145. And so, there's one contract for the entire thing. There's an amendment after the design phase when the construction fee is known. And so that's an amendment that kind of triggers the start of construction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And so how long have you been doing that, the construction side?
We just started last year.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, we're still kind of within the first year of doing it. And
were there any surprises that you didn't expect, both good and bad, by doing that?
All the surprises have been good. Everything is, there's so much that's bad about the typical design bid build relationship, and we've kind of gone through the ringer already. Our very first project, we got a great opportunity to design this great beach house, and we really stretched the design. The whole thing was out of cast in place concrete, and we had a lifetime's worth of experience in just doing that very first project. Design bid build. At the end of the project, the contractor sued everybody, including us. Yep. So our very first project, we get sued.
Yay.
So, yay.
Welcome to architecture.
Right? And it's kind of well, this sucks. We get sued in federal court because we don't have an agreement with the contractor. We were out of state. I mean, it's a nightmare. And of course, we got sued for doing what we were supposed to do, because we literally did that entire project with the Architect's Handbook of Professional Practice open on the desk, reading it like, okay, by the book, how are we supposed to do this? Like, and so, it's sort of, so we knew that doing it like the business as usual way is really broken and has lots of problems. And, there's got to be room for innovation here.
Yeah.
There's got to be lots of room. So anyway, so the goal of, running a profitable firm and doing good work is, that's a challenge in and of itself. And that's a great challenge. But what we wanted to be able to do is get to that point so we could leverage that position, to the position of being a profitable firm, to have a greater impact. And our mission is to improve the lives of 1 million people by creating good, clean, and fair homes. Now, the 1 million is a arbitrary but large arbitrary number, and it's intentionally large to get us thinking at scale, and thinking about impact way beyond what we could do. Like, maybe now we could help 12 people a year, over 40 years. That's 48 people. Oh, wow. It's like, wow. Is that really is that all I was really meant to do? And so, one way to have that kind of an impact, there's two approaches, at least two that I've come up with so far. One is the bottom-up approach, and that's starting a movement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really changing ideas and changing minds. And so that's the genesis of the slow space movement, looking at how much is wrong with our industry, design and construction, particularly in residential, and, where we just, consumers don't have options. They have McMansions, and we're, us architects, we kind of are like poo-poo it and we snicker, but we never go beyond that.
Yeah, we don't do anything about it.
We don't do anything about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the majority of, again, we can't help people. Like, the custom home building process, it takes so long, and financing is difficult and all that kind of stuff. But most people are not willing to wait 2 years to move into their house. I mean, that's a ridiculous proposition in and of itself, right? Most people, they need to move, or they want to move, or they want a house, they want to buy a house and then move in. 3 months. Right, is what it takes, or 6 months, let's say. That's what like a production builder would do. That would be like the turnaround time for a production builder or something like that. Like, that's a reasonable amount of time. Even 9 months, maybe, a little longer.
And that's the whole process.
That's like the whole process.
From their decision to move into a new house to moving into the new house.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, So they don't have any other options. The custom option isn't an option, really, when you're working on a time frame of 6 months, which is a reasonable time frame. And so that isn't an option. So what's an option is what's already out there, and what's already out there is crap. And it's McMansions, all the new stuff, because I mean, I'm in Boston and people love the old houses here, but not in the rest of the country. My in-laws kind of like, what? You bought a 100-year-old house? Why would you do that?
Right. I'm in the process. We're in New York, just above New York City. We live in a house that's from the 30s, but we're in the process of moving to Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte, North Carolina is booming right now, and it's all builder houses. Yeah. Miles and acres and acres and acres and acres of the same McMansion houses, all at different price points, but it's all that same stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And every corner is that same commercial corner, the same Target, the same Walmart, the same Panera Bread on every corner for acres and acres and miles and miles.
Yeah. And so, what's wrong with the McMansion? I mean, there's lots of things that are wrong with it from a design perspective, and your audience is all architects, so I don't need to go into this. But let's just say poor design,
Yeah.
right? Let's take that as a given. But then let's talk about the other 2 points. And this good, clean, and fair is something I borrowed from the slow food movement.
Yeah, actually, before you get into it, explain slow space and where that came from.
Okay, so slow space is it exists as 2 things in our mind at Aamodt Plumb, and on the one hand, it's our kind of esoteric like design philosophy, and on the other hand, it's a very practical social movement. And so. And in my blog, I kind of get into both. Like, I have some articles where I'm like talking about this sort of philosophy and metaphysics of the space-time continuum, which I'm really fascinated by. And then on the same blog, but different article, I'll be talking about like what makes how do I define a clean building? So 2 kind of very different realms that I'm still kind of grappling with, but I'm still very much interested in both. But in terms of making it like a larger movement, I wanted to, this idea of, well, number one, like, I'm an architect just like you. What do we know about like social movements? Nothing. So, it's great to model it off of something else that has been a successful movement. And then the whole idea of the slow movement just fit so well with Andrew and my philosophy on life and the way that we needed to go about doing things in a very slow, methodical way. I mean, we are the proverbial tortoise that is, kind of doing our paces, getting one step at a time, getting there, but there was never any hype or fanfare or anything like that. We had other friends that started firms, around the same time, got lots of publicity, and we were kind of like, be a little jealous. It's like, that's just not us. We are just like pretty down to earth and straight shooters, and just like, we're just going to plod along here, and we're just going to do our thing. Slow and steady wins the race. And the more we started thinking about the analogy, the more like it kind of perfect it was. Just the whole idea of it just blends so well with our interest in the experience of space, as opposed to the sort of objectification of architecture that's been so prevalent the last 20 years, and what it looks like, and the kind of sexy image you can put up on on a in a magazine or on an online blog or something like that. We're interested in, how do the spaces feel? How do they make you feel? What's the phenomenological experience of
it's like
the space?
The antithesis of the developer house, right?
It is.
If the developer house is just get it up as fast as you can, it doesn't matter about quality, it doesn't matter about design, just give them square footage, give them the number of bedrooms they're looking for, and let's get on to the next one. The slow space movement sounds like that. Slow it down. Let's do it quality construction, well designed, thinking about the experience of living in a house, how it's going to affect the family, how it's going to affect your health. Those are all things that the builders never even consider. It's not part of their business plan.
Right, exactly. And the McMansions are the fast food of our industry, and it's no surprise that they're called McMansions. It's like they literally are the McDonald's of houses. And our philosophy is to build less but better. Build higher quality that's going to last a long time. A lot of the single family homes and condos that I see going up all around, they're not going to last much more than 30 or 40 years. And so if you think about the waste of resources, all the money and time that's spent to build these buildings that are going to last less than 50 years, and then they're just going to have to be torn down and rebuilt again. What a shame. when we could just do it a little bit better and then end up with 100-year, 200-year building,
Right.
that will be around for that long. I mean, like this is, we don't have limitless resources on our planet, and if we're building fast and cheap, then we're just going to be churning through these things, at a pace much, much faster than it used to be.
Let's take a quick break here to say thank you to our platform sponsors here at Entree Architect, ARCAT, FreshBooks, and Core by BQE Software. Your boss asks you to put together some CAD details for your firm's next project. What's your next step? What do you do? Is it using the basic internet search on your computer only to find outdated or incompatible details? Grabbing the details from your last project and hoping they fit in this project? There's an easier, faster, much less stressful way to get the information you need. arcat.com. ARCAT has over 15,000 CAD details based on real manufacturers' products and a powerful search engine to find just the right one that you're looking for. Best of all, it's free. You don't even have to register. You don't even have to give them your email address. Just go to entrearchitect.com/ARCAT. Let them know that we sent you, and then start downloading all the CAD details that you need for free. entrearchitect.com/ARCAT. FreshBooks. FreshBooks makes it simple to send invoices, post your expenses automatically. I love that. Track your time for your whole team by project and get organized with reports, communication, and notifications. My favorite feature in FreshBooks is the automated invoice reminders. I think sending invoices and getting paid is one of our biggest hurdles as entrepreneur architects. Who has time to get the invoices out and get paid, right? But if we don't send out invoices, we don't get paid. FreshBooks makes it easy to send out invoices and get paid online with the click of a button. I love this. And when your client doesn't pay you on time, and that's like every time, FreshBooks sends them a friendly email reminder through a simple system that you control. Sign up for a free 30-day unrestricted trial and get ready for the simplest way to be more productive, more organized, and most importantly, get paid faster. Visit entrearchitect.com/freshbooks to access FreshBooks for free, and be sure to enter Entree Architect in the How Did You Hear About Us section. BQE Core revolutionizes the way architects manage projects, time and expenses, billing, and accounting. Core brings every part of your business under one roof so you can stop switching between systems and get back to work on being an architect. Made by BQE, the company behind ArchiOffice, Core saves you time while giving you the visibility, the flexibility, and the power you need to grow your firm. Work from anywhere, seamlessly collaborate, and gain transformative insights with Core's groundbreaking platform. Learn more and get a free trial, 15 days free, at entrearchitect.com/BQE. ARCAT, FreshBooks, and BQE Software. Visit our platform sponsors today and thank them for supporting you, the Entree Architect community. How do you serve that market that's looking for that developer house? That 6-month period, that everybody's looking for. How do we do that if we slow down and build, design a better house and build a better quality? How do we compete with builders?
Well, so one way is that first we have to change people's hearts and minds. So we need to educate them. Mm-hmm. First of all, architects need to start taking a stand. We need to protest. I mean, the slow food guys, they went out and they protested the McDonald's.
Right.
When was the last time you saw an architect protesting a McMansion?
Right. Just slow food, because I don't think you mentioned what slow food is. For anybody who doesn't know what slow food movement is,
Thank you.
It's about fresh food. It's about local food. It's about seasonal food. It's about sort of the artisans. It's sort of going back to real food, built from food that's grown within a certain limit of your place where you're going to cook it and cooking real good food.
Yep.
And there's a whole movement of slow food. There's restaurants and there's now retail, and
Yep.
Whole Foods is all built around all of that. And so
Yep.
and so that's the idea of the slow food movement. And I think that was probably the first slow movement, right?
It was.
And then
yeah.
there's lots of inspired movements from slow food that sort of grew out of that, but none for architecture. And so
None for architecture
your
or
idea
building.
is to take that idea, that philosophy of slow food, and bring it to architecture, and sort of go back to the traditional way of building houses and designing them, and the quality of those houses, and design them for 100-year homes and for families and who are going to grow their families in them, and to build healthy homes, and be able to calculate the savings by doing that. It might be a little bit more expensive. It might take a little bit more time, but ultimately you're not going to have tracks and tracks and tracks of houses that in 20 years they're going to tear down and have to rebuild again, which is clearly what's going to have to happen with the houses that are being built today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you. You just sold it in a nutshell right there. That was perfect. And there's another really interesting part about the slow food movement, which is that it's about the sensual pleasures of eating,
Right.
and about the experience of sharing food around a table with loved ones. And that's the other part that's so great about and how well that translates into architecture in my mind, and the kind of architecture that I love. It's about connecting and being together, and and enjoying the sensual pleasures of the sort of fully immersed experience of architecture. And that's that's another essential part that's missing from big box stores, McMansions, strip malls, and that kind of stuff. So I mean, you don't feel anything.
Right. And that's essentially what makes it a movement, right? When I asked you that question and you said, well, we're going to have to change the hearts and minds of people, we're essentially not competing with the builders. We're trying to convince the people who are buying those houses that those houses are wrong, that those houses are bad. They're unhealthy. They're temporary, and that there is an alternative. And that if they just look over here and they just take a look at what we're doing, they may consider choosing a different alternate route. And if you can make a movement out of that, you can get a lot more people to take that shift and turn their head and look at the other way and turn their back to the builders.
Exactly. And, I don't have any, this is a long-term plan here.
Yeah.
The slow food movement started 30 years ago, but now Whole Foods is fully mainstream. Amazon bought it, right? It's going to be delivered to your doorstep. So, they succidied.
That doesn't get more mainstream than that.
No, it really doesn't. So they succeeded, and organic food, farm to table. I mean, I could artisanal cheese, craft beer. I could go on and on with all the things that we now kind of take for granted that they were championing at the beginning. But it takes a long time, and I have no preconceptions that this is it's a slow movement. No problem. I'm in it for the long haul. And so back to the three tenets. Which are good, clean, and fair. And again, I borrowed them from slow food because, again, I don't know what I'm doing as an activist, and so they seem to work out just fine for them, and they seem to apply just fine to our industry. So good is good design, around human-centered design, around empathy. Beauty is critical. Nobody's going to take care of an ugly building. It must be beautiful. And when I was in architecture school, nobody would talk about beauty. They just refused to talk about it. But it used to be that was what we were specialists in, was it was beauty. So it has to be there. So, and then clean. Okay, so clean is kind of a different take on the sustainability movement. It's not so much about energy efficiency, because you can get a really great R value with your spray foam insulation. But when two guys show up in a hazmat suit to install it, don't you just wonder? Doesn't that make you go, right? This is not clean. You really want to live inside of a spray foam bubble. They don't tell you that 5 to 10% of the cases, the stuff never cures properly and it off-gasses forever. And that's the equivalent of having your car totaled because you can't get that stuff off, right? And so, it's just like another one of those things where like, oh, lead paint, that was a great idea once. Asbestos, that was a great idea once. It's like, let's not over fetishize the new and the silver bullet of, oh, there's this great new building product. Guess what? The building products we've been using for thousands of years, like wood, they work great. And we've got the data to prove it, over thousands of years. It's like tried and tested. So we're thinking about clean, it's the, like speaking of lead, it's like the use your children as a theoretical test case. Would you let your kids eat it? Yeah. Because they eat lead paint, right?
Right.
They actually flavored it so that it would taste good. Oh. But it's like, all right, yeah, I'd let my kid chew on a stick, like some wood. Okay, it's pretty benign. But spray foam insulation? I don't think so. It's like, if you wouldn't eat it, like, do you really want to live in it? And so I'm just looking for like common sense, a common sense approach that is, not so reliant on checklists and data sheets and a lot of big data heavy stuff. Like, let's just be kind of commonsensical about it and about what we build with and like what's in that stuff. So we're looking critically at what are all the regular things that we build with all the time. We were just doing some research into chipboard. Did you know that 90% of the chipboard produced worldwide is sold in the U.S.?
No.
So what's everybody else using? And are we the fools? We might be, right?
Very interesting, yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, we need to question some of these things that we just take for granted, right? That's like, oh yeah, well, that's standard practice. It's like, oh, but why? Anyway, so clean is about literally like clean, like natural and non-toxic materials. And then fair is another thing that is very, that I'm very passionate about, because labor exploitation in the construction industry is huge, especially in residential construction. And there's been some highlighting of that in abroad in Middle Eastern countries where they have migrant labor that comes in from other countries, and they're basically like kept in workers detention camps, in the middle of the desert, working 20-hour days without water, in horrible conditions. But guess what? That stuff happens here too, even though we have laws. I mean, if your builder uses day laborers, that's basically the same as they're paying them under the table. They're not on the books. And they're not paying into the Social Security system. There's no workers' comp, there's no unemployment insurance. When those workers get hurt, they're out of luck. And a lot of times a lot of the production builders are very guilty of this. A lot of times their wages will be withheld, and the workers are told, hey, you better come back to the job tomorrow or else you're not going to get paid. And their wages are withheld for weeks, months, and they're preying on the already sort of, powerless. Oftentimes the workers may be undocumented. They may be documented. They may be U.S. citizens, but they're being exploited, and the entire, the entire bar is lowered for the construction industry, which could be such a phenomenal source of great middle-class jobs. But, people need to be paid a living wage. And once people start to be paid a living wage, you're going to see changes all throughout the entire industry. I mean, you're not going to be able to build a 4,000 square foot house if you're actually paying people what they should be paid to build it.
Right.
You might be able to afford a 2,000 square foot house for the same money. So less but better.
Yeah.
Better materials, fair labor. We need fair trade construction materials. Right? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
No, never heard of it.
I've heard fair trade food.
fair trade food. So
Yep.
we need fair trade construction materials, because because the zinc that is mined, and pick any ore,
Right.
it doesn't matter what it is mined, we're like by children in Africa crawling into tunnels in totally unsafe conditions, basically child slave labor to get the zinc for your zinc coated copper panels for your building. Is that okay? Like, can we really accept that? And, we can say that, oh, well, the government's supposed to regulate that kind of stuff. And, we know that will never happen. And we're actually on the front lines as architects because we're specifying the products. And so, we can make a difference. We can say, no, that's not okay. And the easy one for right now for your listeners is FSC certified wood. Please use FSC certified wood. That's the only thing that comes close to being a fair trade building product out there. The only thing with a kind of chain of custody, where labor is also factored into it. So please use that. And then other than that,
And there's a website for FSC materials, right, where you can actually see who's selling it, and there's labels for it, and so it's easily documented.
It's easily documented. Even Home Depot sells FSC certified plywood. So, that's like a no-brainer. Everything else is like a market that needs to be created. And, this is capitalism at its best. We can create that market. If we create the demand, somebody will fill it.
Right.
But we need to create the demand. And so it needs to come from us. And, your clients, you need to educate them. You say, do you really want to, get that tropical hardwood that not only is depleting the rainforest, but was also harvested by slaves? Like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of a tough sell. It's
right.
Like, but there's just nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
And so that's part of my mission, and that's part of the movement as well.
So how do we keep the movement moving? You have your website, slowspace.org.
Yep.
That's your blog, and that's all about the movement itself.
Yep.
Is there a way for listeners to be able to get involved and help you keep moving the movement?
Yeah, that would be great. And so maybe is to sign up for sign up for the blog. So I'll send you an email when a new blog post comes out. There's also a Facebook page that's facebook.com/slow space movement. So you can join there. I'm open to suggestions. I mean, the best thing I can do right now is just sort of spread the word and get people to start talking about things. And that's what the value of this podcast is for me, is that, we can get these ideas out there to more people.
Right.
And the more people that start talking about it, and the more people that start asking the question, oh, do you have any fair trade construction materials? Huh? What's that?
Right.
Like, oh, I don't know. Like 3 people just asked me about that last week. This is how change happens in the U.S.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't happen from the top
right now.
down.
It's this gigantic ball the size of a house, and you're pushing on it. And you need a few more people to help you push that ball to get it to move. Because once that thing starts moving, it's not going to stop.
It's not going to stop.
And it's not going to take a whole lot of us to get it to move.
Right.
And so it's slowspace.org is where you can go and learn all about it. You can subscribe there. All of the social media is there as well, up in the top right corner at slowspace.org. You can see Mette's website. Mette, what is it? It's AamodtPlumb.com is the website. And you can find Mette all over social media. I follow her on Twitter. It's Mette Aamodt, and let me spell that so everybody knows, because it's not spelled the way it sounds. It's MEtteAamodt, and that'll be on the show notes. This is episode 212. So entrearchitect.com/212, and we'll have links to everything. So if you just go there to entrearchitect.com/episode 212, we'll have links to slowspace.org and the website and all of the social media. And everything that we need there. So I applaud you. I commend you. I thank you. It's a worthy cause, and it's definitely something that I'm very interested in. It's sort of the way I never sort of formulated it. I never really thought about it as a movement or a how you design, but it's the way I like to design. It's, like I said, I live in a house that was built in 1934. This is that house that you're talking about. It was that house before the war. That's the way they built them.
That's the way they were. Yep. Then something happened in the 70s and everything went to shit.
Yeah. And we can get it. We can get it back. It'll take us a lot of time. It'll be slow.
It'll be slow.
But
that's okay.
If we all sort of take it one step at a time, and I love the idea of sort of just not because we're always talking about in the group at entrearchitect.com/group, the Facebook group. We're always talking about how do we compete with the builders? How do we change the builders? But you're saying don't change the builders.
You can't change them.
Give the consumer an alternative. Give them something that's better that they can go and find and live in, and they'll see the value in the smaller house. Maybe it's a little bit more expensive per square foot. And there's lots of pieces. Like, it's a big movement, right? Because then you start thinking about the real estate agents, because you have to change the minds of the real estate agents too on the way they're going to sell those houses, because they're selling 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It's all about the square footage. It doesn't matter that you never hear an architect design house or the value of an architect design house.
You do in Europe, though. You hear that on in real estate listings. It'll say right there, architect designed house, and that has a value. It doesn't have a value here.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for hanging out here with me, sharing your story, and all of the hard work that you're doing. I love your architecture, so I definitely I hope everybody goes and checks out your architecture just purely as design. I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And definitely go check out slowspace.org. Mette, Aamodt, thank you very much for joining me here and sharing your knowledge at Entre Architect Podcast.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Mark. Thank you so much.
So before we wrap up here, I have 3 more items to share. Number 1, share this episode with a friend. entrearchitect.com/episode 212. That's entrearchitect.com/episode 212. That's the episode to share. We are growing because you're sharing. It's the only way this is happening. So just take a few seconds. Just type out entrearchitect.com/episode 212. Send it to a friend, either email or Facebook or Twitter, and tag me in social media. Tag me so I know that you're sending it. I know you are, because this podcast is growing every month. The numbers are going up, and the only way that's happening is by you sharing it. But tag me. I want to know. I want to thank you. So do that. entrearchitect.com/episode 212. Number 2. If you like the Entre Architect podcast, I have 2 other podcasts that I want you to add to your playlist. You will love these shows. ArchiSpeak podcast and Inside the Firm. You may already be listening to them. If you're not, put them on your playlist. ArchiSpeak podcast is hosted by our friends Cormac Phelan, Neil Pan, Evan Troxel. 3 guys. They are fantastic. Where I focus on business and leadership and life as a small firm architect, they talk about everything of what it's like to be an architect. They talk about all of the profession, the good and the bad. They share it all. They always entertain, and I always learn something new that I didn't know. So definitely check out ArchiSpeak podcast. And my friends Lance Psycho and Alex Gore over at Inside the Firm podcast. They are crushing it. These guys are awesome. The guys at ArchiSpeak and I launched around the same time back in late 2012. So we've been around for a long time now, 5+ years. Inside the Firm are the new boys in town. They've been around for about 1.5 years online at Inside the Firm. And every show brings value. They've formatted their show into separate segments, and so they sort of talk about one thing, and they sort of talk about being an entrepreneur architect, and they do a reading, and they do ARE hacks game show. Very, very entertaining. I love it. And I have a playlist of about 20 podcasts that I download each week, but I only listen to about 8 of them consistently every week. I listen to more than that, but 8 of them, I'm on it every week. I listen to every episode. These are the podcasts that educate me, they inspire me, they entertain me, these are the shows that I never miss, these 8. And both ArcaSpeak and Inside the Firm are on that list. So I encourage you to add both of those shows to the top of your playlist right now. And number 3, this is important. This may change your life as a small firm architect. It's something that will help you build all those important business systems that will make your firm run smoothly. They'll make you more money. It's something that will make you more efficient, more effective, more productive. I want you to go check out Entre Architect Foundations. It's a collection of more than 50 business forms and checklists designed and built specifically for small firm architects. You can learn more about them at entrearchitect.com/foundations. These are the documents that I built for my own firm. These are my documents, and it took me more than 20 years to build this valuable library of resources, and it's the foundation of my success. This collection includes documents for business administration, design development, project management, construction management, my sales system, and complete project organization. It has everything that I need to run my firm. Whether you've just started your firm or you've been in business for decades, these are the documents you need to make your business systems purr. Learn more at entrearchitect.com/foundations. Go check them out right now. It will change the way you do business. entrearchitect.com/foundations. My name is Mark R. LePage, and I thank you for being here. I'm an entrepreneur architect, and I encourage you to build a better business so you can be a better architect. Love, learn, share what you know. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic week.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark R. LePage, founder of Entre Architect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.